Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the newly released ToyWorld Knight Orion, also known of course as a third-party masterpiece representation of Optimus Prime based on his appearance from Transformers Age of Extinction and The Last Knight. Now for those of you looking to add this figure here to your collection, he is currently available and in stock right now over at Shozy Store, and for that of course I shall include a link down in the description box below. As many of you were, I was really looking forward to seeing as to how this figure would actually turn out in hand, as I was thoroughly impressed with their previously released Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime. And whilst the figure is certainly impressive as far as his robot mode, sculpt and paintwork is concerned, I have got to be completely honest and upfront with you, I really do believe ToyWorld dropped the ball massively on this particular figure. The engineering alone is one of the worst transformations that I have ever gone through, and even after pretty much a solid 2 weeks of converting the figure from robot to vehicle mode and of course vice versa, I still am unable to get all of the panels perfectly aligned, although I shall try my best in this review to show you the transformation in its entirety. Also, something worth noting is that my figure does appear to be plagued with so many quality control issues. It's unbelievable. I honestly have not had this many QC issues on a figure ever since I reviewed that third-party oversized version of Shockwave that had the leg snap clean off. So we are definitely going to be discussing the good, the bad, and the ugly here with this particular release. We shall of course begin by taking a look at the accessories. Now, as this is the deluxe version, we do of course get included the electronic display base. Something which is worth noting is that unfortunately for me, I did not get included the remote control, so I shall merely just be demonstrating the feature using the touch control, which is a little temperamental. We do get a really awesome Optimus Prime looking shotgun. Now I believe we see him use this in Age of Extinction. I can't recall ever seeing him using it in The Last Knight, but you can see that as far as the paint and sculpt work is concerned, it looks fantastic, and that really is one of the main reasons why I am so let down by this particular release, is because it has so much potential. ToyWorld really do create some of the best looking figures, and if they just could have refined that engineering, this figure probably would have been the definitive representation of that character from the 4th and 5th movie. But you can see here that the sculpt and paintwork for the blaster looks absolutely fantastic. It is indeed a complete plastic piece, so whilst the paint may appear to be a die-cast material, it is in fact just complete solid plastic, and you can see there's so much different detailing where the wiring is concerned. It really is an amazing looking piece. We do of course get included the shield that we see him use in both the 4th and the 5th movie, and the sculpt and the paintwork, much like the shotgun, looks absolutely incredible. Even turning here to the underside, we have got a really nice metallic wash, so this piece does really look great from all angles, and you can indeed extend this section to reveal the triple barrel that we see Optimus use in the movie, so that is definitely a super cool and really nice inclusion. We of course get the Last Knight / Age of Extinction Optimus' sword, and this looks amazing. You can see that the sculpt and the paint really does look remarkable. Of course we've got all of the Cybertronian hieroglyphs there with some super nice metallic red and blue highlights, and this can actually peg into this included almost display base, which does remind me of the Knights of the Round Table that we see in the Last Knight movie. You can see that the detail looks really well done, and we do indeed get 3 magnets here on the bottom, which I believe have merely been included just so that it does actually sit on the ground and that the sword does not topple it over. But you can see the sculpt looks really well done, and we also do get a plethora of interchangeable hands. Now the figure does come pre-installed with articulated fingers, although they are slightly restricted, so ToyWorld have packaged in a slightly more exaggerated pre-posed pair of hands, and you can see the sculpt work as well as the paint on these look tremendous. And then we also do get a pair of more relaxed hands, and you can see that the finger detail definitely does look fantastic. We also do get a more neutral Optimus Prime looking face sculpt, as the head that does come pre-installed is his Nemesis Prime look with the Quintessa stripe. So here with this head it is definitely a lot more cleaner, but you can see once again that the paint and the sculpt looks remarkable, and this does have the same face swapping gimmick that you will see on the Nemesis Prime version. So you can just lift this section up, remove this piece here, just unpeg it, rotate it around, and of course snap that back into place, and it will reveal the mouth guardless look for Optimus. And I really love the attention to detail, especially there where those eyes are concerned. And then the 2 final accessories that we get included is the dagger blade that we see him about to decapitate Bumblebee with in the Last Knight movie, and you can once again see the sculpt and paintwork looking awesome. And then we do actually get the sword hilt that will peg onto Prime's back. Now as mentioned, the display base is indeed electronic, so it has not only an LED function, but it also has some voice clips. So I'll very quickly demonstrate some of the voice clips that we actually have. Believe me, there are a lot, so I'm more than likely going to skip over some, and then of course we'll take a look at Optimus Prime himself.
Well, it sure looks like you've been missed.
Autobots, lockdown is hunting us, and humans are helping. We need to know why.
What?
and your creators want you back. We all work for someone. We're not your technology. The seeds. They turned your organic life into our elemental metals. Our creators destroyed your world to make us. And that's what got giving you freedom. You defend my family. Or die. Autobots, we're going to prove who we are and why we're here. You just want to put the crap before I drop a grenade down your throat. Try it. You'll be dead. Oh, please pull it. Please do it.
You know what? You save us so much time.
Well, raise your hand if you're thoroughly disenchanted with our little pleasant Earth vacation. So there's the stowaways.
Oh, hey, what's with the gun?
Calm down, both of you. They've risked their lives for mine. We owe them. So there's been no sign of any others. No, we are all. Let's give Bumblebee the good news. We got a ship now. We're leaving. You humans, after all we have done, you don't know what you've wrought upon yourselves.
What? What is it now? What are you talking about? I mean, I'm doing stuff out of my league here.
You don't see who's controlling who. Within that man-made prototype I fought, I sensed the presence of Megatron.
But the Decepticons that started the Chicago War?
How do you think KSI built those bots in the first place, They had a whole mess of dead Decepticon heads, and they were downloading their minds. And I was in charge of autopsy duty. No union, no benefits, no nothing. They hooked me up to Megatron, and that mind wasn't as dead as they thought. He fed them the science and specs. Also, they could build him a brand new body. Then, he infected it with his evil, nasty chromosomes. That red, beady eyes, look, got all in my lovely locks. Oh, I can smell it right now. Total inside custom job. KSI might have named the body the snappy name of Galvatron, but that's just Megatron reincarnated.
And after that very quick demo, believe it or not, of some of the voice clips, believe me, this display base pretty much includes every single quote that Optimus does state in the Age of Extinction movie, and a few more from Drift, Crosshairs, and of course Hound. Personally, as this is supposed to be based on both the Age of Extinction and the Last Night movie, I would have loved to have gotten some of the clips from the Last Night movie, especially when he is Nemesis Prime, but regardless, it is a really nice feature, and believe me, when you do have Optimus posed in the dark with the 4 LEDs shining upon him, and of course those voice clips emitting, it is most certainly a sight to both see and hear. It really is fantastic. So great presentation on ToyWorld's part. I just wish that mine did come with a remote control, so that actually switching between the voice clips and turning the LEDs on was not so temperamental. And so, turning to the main event himself, here we have Knight Orion, also known of course as Optimus Prime, and I've got to be honest and say that ToyWorld did an absolute smashing job in capturing his appearance from the movie. The sculpt and the paintwork looks tremendous. It is just a shame that the quality control as well as that engineering really does let this particular piece down, as when I do bring out the Unique Toys version for a comparison, whilst I do enjoy that figure more due to it having a conversion that I personally believe works, I do believe that as far as movie accuracy is concerned, ToyWorld definitely has that hands down. But you can see that as far as the sculpt there for the head is concerned, we of course do have the Nemesis Prime face on, so we now have the purple eyes as well as the Quintessa slap mark. The amazing paintwork as well as sculpt that's gone into the torso truly does look remarkable. It honestly looks like a figure that cannot transform, which is probably why the figure is so complex to actually convert. And to be honest, I wouldn't even say that it is complex. I would just say that in some instances it is indeed over-engineered, but we will discuss that later on in the review. You can see some fantastic flame detailings here for the sides of his chest. We've even got some smaller details such as the Western Star logo there. Amazing looking sculpt work here as well as paint for the shoulders. I really love the metallic wash as well as this almost dirty wash that has been applied side in order to give you the sense of realism and to really give you the impression that this version of Optimus is weathered. You can also see here for the forearms, I believe the gauntlets have come out impeccably well with that same flame detailing, as well as even the pinstriping around the sides, which too looks very accurate to how he appeared in the movie. And the torso region truly is one of my favourite aspects of this particular figure. I just absolutely love all of the impeccable sculpt as well as paintwork that we have got going on here. As we spin around here to the back of Optimus, unfortunately I do believe this is an area where Unique Toys does actually win. I don't like how untidy this region looks. You can see how we do have gaps here on the sides, which, believe me, in person definitely look a lot worse than they are coming across on camera, and I cannot think for the life of me as to why this section here is on a pin and this one here is on a screw. This is actually an area which I have had pop clean off, and seeing as these pins slash screws are supposed to hold the smokestacks, it can once again make transformation incredibly difficult. But you can see that he is too painted and sculpted really nicely here from the back. Of course, we have got the smokestacks, which in my opinion are a little smaller when in comparison to what I believe is the more superior design, that being on the Unique Toys version. I really do believe Unique Toys nailed the look of Optimus from the back, whereas this version probably captures his appearance better from the front. But then as we turn our attention here to the sides of the legs, you can see that these two have come out fairly nicely. Of course, there is some vehicle mode kibble visible, such as the tyres, but for the most part I think they've done a commendable job. Now, something which I must mention is that this panel did snap clean off fresh out of the packaging, so this will be an area that will not be 100% perfect when I do actually transform him. I have no idea as to why ToyWorld used clear plastic. You can clearly see that that is clear plastic on such a stiff hinge joint. This joint was pretty much impossible to move upon getting this figure out of the packaging, and just with the slight turn it did indeed shear clean off. I'm almost certain that Shozy Store will be able to provide me with a replacement, but for a figure which costs close to $200, this is something that should not be apparent, and clear plastic should not be used on vital transformation joints. I have also got to mention that I have had various different random pins fall out of this figure just when handling him in robot mode and of course transforming him. Most noticeably would be the pins that are supposed to actually connect into this joint. Now these are really and truly useless, so I'm not too fussed that they did fall out. This section is supposed to connect here onto this piece. Seeing as it is held on via this section, it's not a massive deal, but still you should not have pins just falling out. But turning back here to the front of the figure, you can see that as far as the sculpt is concerned here for the thighs, I love this. I also love the wiring detailing that we've got here. I think that these sections too have come out really nicely, and the sculpt and paintwork here for the lower legs too just looks absolutely remarkable. We've got some nice details there, such as the Cybertronian hieroglyphs with a really awesome metallic gold applied around the edges. And then as we take a look here towards the feet of Optimus, once again you can see that amazing looking paintwork as well as of course sculpt work. So overall, as far as Optimus's presentation is concerned, it does look terrific. It is a really nicely sculpted and painted figure. It is just a shame that those QC issues ultimately do drag this figure down, and if I'm 100% honest, I do believe that Unique Toys did manage the back kibble a little better than what we have here for ToyWorld. Another issue that I do have with this figure is, to me, it appears as if the head does sit slightly too high. You are unable to actually hinge this section down, so at all times it does appear as if he is looking slightly upwards and not dead straight on. But regardless, getting to articulation, we merely just have a swivel and a hinge joint, so no ball joint, which is slightly unfortunate. The shoulder pads are on swivel joints as well as hinge joints, so the arms can rotate forwards and backwards, although once again you saw that the torso did come detached. They can hinge forwards and backwards as well as hinge out to the sides. We do get a rotation here at the bicep, a mere 90-degree bend here at the elbow, and considering this version of Optimus was very agile, I would have loved to have seen a double range of motion, and this is something that once again Unique Toys did do better in my personal opinion. We also do get a ball joint here at the wrist, which can rotate the full 360 as well as hinge in and out. These fingers are in fact articulated, so we do get these three which are connected, and then of course the index finger which has got two separate hinge joints. The waist articulation is pretty much useless. You can see that you are unable to really tilt this left to right due to the nature of the design, and that is super restrictive in my opinion. The leg articulation too isn't the best. You can see that you can barely get it to kick outwards, as of course this section will begin to bump into the torso, and there is really no way to actually accommodate that range of motion without completely exploding the torso. We do get a limited range of motion kicking out due to the nature of this design. We of course do get a rotation here at the thigh as well as a 90-degree bend there at the knee. This is something that the Unique Toys version also only had a 90-degree range of motion with, so I'm not going to fault it too much regarding that, but it would have been nice to have gotten a slightly better range of motion. And then finally taking a look here at the foot, due to transformation it can pivot forwards and backwards, and then of course rock side to side ever so slightly. So overall, as far as articulation is concerned, to be honest with you, I do find it to be rather restrictive, especially where the torso and of course this leg articulation articulation is concerned, but as far as the display piece is concerned, it is by far one of the more impressive Age of Extinction / The Last Night versions of Optimus Prime. And turning to some comparisons, here we have the ToyWorld Bumblebee movie Prime compared to, of course, his appearance from Age of Extinction. And if I were 100% honest with you, I've got to say that the Bumblebee movie version of Optimus is the best out of the two. As far as engineering is concerned, and the way that everything does hold together, it just feels leaps and bounds better, especially in regards to quality. The figure had a lot better articulation when compared to Knight Orion, and considering that Knight Orion has come after their Bumblebee movie Optimus, I'm really saddened to see that it is definitely a step in the wrong direction, where their previous Optimus Prime was definitely one of the best third-party figures that I currently own in my collection. And here for the Unique Toys and ToyWorld comparison, as mentioned previously in the review, I really have no hesitations in saying that as far as an actual display piece is concerned, the ToyWorld version does look better. I love the individually sculpted components that we do get on the ToyWorld's torso. I also believe that the paint applications are leaps and bounds more impressive when compared to the Unique Toys version, but as the overall package, I really do believe that Unique Toys is more bang for your buck. The figure is so nice to handle, there are no joints which feel too tight, you can pretty much pose the figure in any way you so desire, and the leg articulation is vastly superior when compared to what we got here with ToyWorld. Something else which is worth mentioning is that the Transformation 2 is a heck of a lot more simplistic and straightforward with the Unique Toys version when in comparison to the ToyWorld version, and if I just show you a back perspective, to me I really do believe that Unique Toys did a better job in cleaning up that backpack. It is just so much more proportionate than the rather angular design that we get here, and I also am not a fan of these sections which do just jut out to the side. So really and truly, I personally, if given the option, would always go with Unique Toys. I just think that it is so much more enjoyable to actually pose and handle. But if you are looking for a definitive display piece which is transformable if you wish to put yourself through that procedure, then I would say that ToyWorld may be the figure for you. But just for me, as an overall package, I do believe that Unique Toys is definitely the figure to go with. And so, turning to transformation, as you may have already gathered from some of my comments in the robot mode segment, this is certainly where the fun, or should I say the hell, begins. The team over at ToyWorld certainly must be sadists, as this is potentially one of the worst transformations that I have ever put myself through. I would even say it's worse than the Devil Savior's Split. Honestly, there is just no way that I can transform this figure so that it closes up completely. So instead of this transformation segment acting as an almost step-by-step, I would say that I'm going to try my best to show you where certain pieces should align up, but once again, I am not promising that the end result will be pretty. So to begin with, what I would recommend doing would be to come here to the shoulder pads and rotate these sections like so. You'll then want to take this piece, if it hasn't done so already, and detach it. We can then take these collar pieces and you're going to want to slide these in. It can be very difficult to actually get to, but just compress them in just like this. We can then take this entire region and bring it out here to the back. Now you're going to want to take these, unpeg those and hinge them out to the sides, and then bring this entire assembly here down just like this. We can then turn our attention here to the front. Now for this, you're going to want to take these pieces, double hinge these down, so just wriggle all of the way down, and then come here to this side and of course repeat the same process. So just bring this here all the way down. We can then take this section, hinge this up just to allow for some additional clearance. You'll then want to take this, bring this forwards and fold this section out, and of course repeat the same process here on the opposite side, so just fold that out as well. We can then take these panels and you're going to want to hinge these here out to the sides just to allow once again for some additional clearance. And this is where I would certainly recommend bringing in the help of a pointy tool, as you are going to want to take this tiny piece and actually detach it from that blue groove. Now it's very difficult to do by hand, so I do tend to just take something like this and try. As mentioned, the clearance is pretty much non-existent on this figure, and wedge this section here out like so. Once that piece is lifted out, we can then disengage the waist joint here from this tab, so bring this up and over. You'll then want to take this section, rotate this here all the way around, and then we can just take these pieces, extend those for now just to allow for some clearance, bring these here, I would say just bring them up and around so that we're left with something which looks along the lines of this. You'll then want to turn your attention here to this section. Now for this, you're going to want to take the shoulder joint and pop this down like so on this hinge joint, and repeat the same process. So just take this here and pop this down. I would then recommend rotating here at the bicep so that the side is now showing, so that we have something along the lines of this. And of course, repeat the same process here on the opposite side. Once you have rotated the biceps, we can take these window sections, fold these out on both sides, and then bring these sections to the back slightly in order to allow for some clearance so that this can now shoot. And you can see, unfortunately, I do actually have a crack on that piece, which sucks. And it's just snapped clean off. Fantastic. Just snap that in there. And that is just such a shame for a nearly $200 figure. We can then take these panels here on the shoulders. And for these, you're going to want to bring up and over. And you can see how they will fit into this groove. So just snap that in there. And then, of course, manipulate this here so that this one does also slide into place as well. Now you're going to want to turn your attention here to these arms. Now for this, you're going to want to bring this elbow pad out. We can then split this region and then take this section and bring this here all the way up. Take the wrist, rotate this in, bring this section up and around, and then you're going to want to rotate this so that the flame detailing is now facing outwards. We can then take this section, bring this forwards, take this panel and collapse that down. And then with this, you're going to want to bring this in and leave it so that we are left with something along the lines of this. We can then compress this panel and of course repeat the same process on the opposite side. Once you have both of the arms transformed, you'll then want to turn your attention here to these sections, bring this up and around and just sit that flush along the side, and of course repeat the same process here on this side. Now for this, you're going to want to snap that there into place, take this section, extend that, and it should sit along the side like so. Come here to this side and of course repeat the exact same process. So bring this around, fold this section here out and down, snap that there into place as well. Now you're going to want to try your best to get the arms into this gap. Now this is by far one of the most challenging aspects of the transformation, at least for me. You're just going to want to tuck this in to the best of your ability and wedge that in there. And of course come here to this side and repeat the exact same process. So bring that in, ensuring that it stays something like this. We can then make sure that everything is tabbed in appropriately. So bring that windscreen up and the arms should be in a configuration which resembles this. Now we can take these panels, bring these forwards, and essentially you're going to want to ensure that this bar does actually sit over the top here of this bar like so that it is not caught on this piece. And of course we can repeat the same process here on the opposite side. Just tap that there into place. So all I've merely done is just gone off camera and quickly tidied up these pieces, as believe me, it does take quite a long time to tidy up the most simplistic of things, but you just want to ensure that we are left with something along the lines of this. And just to show you what we are working with on the inside, you can see how that bar does sit over the top here of these two struts. So once that's together, we can flip here to this side, take the biceps and snap them into place. And of course we are meeting with some resistance, as this figure just wants to give you hell when you are transforming it. Just align that up, and then with this you can see we do have two tabs here and here which should slide between the windscreen. Unfortunately, as mine's broken, it will only slide in one side, but you can see how that does essentially complete this entire front section. We can take the doors now, and you're going to want to align these up here to the sides and leave that pegged in there. And of course repeat the same process here on the opposite side. So just snap that in there as well and lift that up, being very delicate whilst doing so, as of course you don't want to pop anything else out. And you just saw there one of these pins just come clean off, which too is just absolute crap. And then now you want to take this section here, snap that into place, the front grille, snap that into place, rotate this section around and make sure that this here is out of the way, and just snap that section into place as well. And repeat the same process. And then try your best to just conceal the two halves. But, oh god, this transformation is absolute rubbish. Why is this stuck? Bring this out. Bring this down. And so you should be left with something which looks along the lines of this. This is the best that I personally have got it. We can then take the wheels and snap those there out of place, ensuring that this here is all tabbed together as well. And this is effectively how this entire front section of the cab should more or less look. Now you can see that bits are popping out, as believe me, they do want to continuously do this throughout the transformation. But if we did have a complete windscreen, this section for the most part would be completely transformed. Now we can turn our attention here to the back section of the truck. Now this is actually the more simplistic area of conversion, at least that I personally have found. For this, you're going to want to hinge this all the way up. We can then begin to unfold these panels, and this was the joint that actually snapped here on the opposite side. So just bring that down and around, and then you'll want to arch this hinge joint to the back so that we are left with something which looks along the lines of this, and then just compress this forwards and try your best to snap this in. But once again, it will more than likely pop off throughout transformation, as these panels here are clearly showing. Now we'll turn our attention here to the knees, lift these tiny little pieces here out, and repeat the same process. Lift that section out. We want to take this, fold this forwards, and of course repeat the same process, fold that there forwards, and then you'll want to take this here and arch this here all the way back, just like so that we are left with something which looks along the lines of this. Come here to this side and repeat the same process, so arch this here all the way back, and you may be able to see now roughly where everything is about to go. But believe me, as this is a ToyWorld figure, it just amplifies things to an extent where it is pretty much an impossible task. Take the smokestack, which is just completely crumbled to bits, and set that there off to the side, and we'll worry about that later on. You'll want to take this panel here, lift this up, hinge that out of the way, and then come here to this side and repeat the same process. So hinge this section up, and then come here to the underside, fold this forwards, which will then allow you to take these wheels and pull this here all the way to the back, just like this. We can then take this panel, rotate this here out like so, and then here with the knees, you're going to want to unpeg this, shift this entire region down until it looks something along the lines of this, and then that should allow for some clearance to bring this here all the way around, just like this. And of course, flip here to this side, compress this panel, rotate the shin guard around, leave that sitting flush there. We can fold out this piece, take the toe, fold this section out, and then just leave that resting along the side. Come here to this side and effectively repeat the exact same process. So bring this down, hinge this, and snap that there into place. Ensure that we are bringing that back. We can then take the shin guard, disengage that, bring this panel around, and then bring this here all the way down, fold this section here out, rotate this around. You'll then want to take this, fold that in, and then fold this in, bring this in and down. And now for this, I would try your best to get this panel into its proper configuration, and then with the rest of it, you're just going to want to try your best to essentially fight with this until everything does tab into place. And then we'll turn to this side. You can see we have a tiny tab that will peg there into this slot, so let's bring that in, tab that there into place, ensure that this here stays secured, bring this in, and we also do have another tab and slot that you'll just want to snap there into place as well. You'll then want to turn here to the side, and of course you can see that for the most part this here is behaving and staying tabbed in. It is a shame that unfortunately I won't be able to show you with the windscreen intact, and of course this panel did snap clean off, but you would want to effectively do the same here for this side. So I'll just show you how bits should tab in just so that we have the gist of where everything should go. So of course snap that there into place, and then snap that there into place, and then this panel would come over as well, and then you would snap that there, and then this, and should snap into place as well. And then we will turn our attention here to the back, and then we'll bring the shin guard around along with the foot, and snap that in there. Bring this section around and down, take the toe, fold this in as well, bring those pieces out, and then you're going to want to split the legs here. Take these pieces and ensure these do stay tucked in, and repeat the same process. And now with this too is also an area which I've got to be honest and say, to me, just doesn't work. I have transformed this figure so many times, and from what I can gather, this tiny little tab that we have here, this tiny little blue slot, should peg into this tab. There is just no way that these pieces are going to align. Not only is the distance too far, but it is near enough impossible to get this waist to align dead center. So I do once again have some resistance when I am transforming this particular region, but for this you will want to bring this down. We can take the smokestacks, bring this down as well. You'll want to conceal the gas canisters so that they are now one complete piece. We then can then take Optimus's ears, fold these in forwards, and repeat the same process, as these are supposed to tuck into the collar section. So bring this up and over and down, take this panel, collapse that down. We'll then bring these up and over as well. Come here to this side, take the smokestack, bring this up, and shift this up here. Now, as mentioned previously, I really have no idea why this one here is on a screw and the other one was on a pin, as you can easily re-screw this, but with the pin one, as there is no head, you can't actually screw it back in to reattach the smokestack. So after this review, I shall actually be trying my best to find a screw in order to reattach that, so it's not really the end of the world where that is concerned. But once again, it's something that just should not be apparent on a figure which costs this much. And then you'll want to take this section, bring this forwards, and you can see a slot that will peg here into this tab. So once again, ensure these pieces are compressed, tab that in there like so, and now we can just bring this entire region down so that it does sit along the back. Now what we'll do is we'll bring this all the way down again, bring this up and over, and then I would bring this over the top as well, and then just bring these two panels together and snap those there into place. And then some of the final steps are to take these gas canisters here, and you can see two slots that should peg into these two tabs. But no matter how many times I transform this figure, I once again am always met with some resistance. So just tab that there into place, and you can just see the absolute car crash that we have here. But if I did have the other side with that panel intact, I'm pretty certain I could get it looking somewhat like this. And of course there is some tidying up to do, so we'll just take these here and slide these back into place. Hopefully they stay tabbed into where they should actually go. But with all that being said, this is the best that I personally have come to actually perfecting the transformation. So I will reattach some of these broken pieces, try my best to tidy it up, but this is the gist of the transformation. I really do apologize for those of you who wanted to basically get this figure fully transformed into a 100% complete truck. It's something that I personally have been unable to do. The tolerances are off. You saw with this tab, it just does not want to peg into that slot due to the distance between the tabs, and I just really think this figure here is over-engineered. It is by far one of the biggest letdowns that I personally have ever experienced, especially with these third-party companies. And from ToyWorld, I definitely did expect better, especially where the quality control was concerned. The smokestack should not be popping off. We shouldn't get cracked windscreens, which to be honest is probably my own fault, so I will excuse that. But this panel snapping off fresh out of the packaging too was definitely a major downside. But regardless, I'll try my best to tidy it up, and then we'll take a look at the vehicle mode. And so, taking a look here at Knight Orion in his Western Star truck mode, as you could probably see from that transformation, as I have mentioned throughout this review, it is by far one of the worst experiences. I would go as far as saying that this is the worst transformation that I personally have ever experienced, even being worse than the Devil Savior Split, as with that figure I had nothing break off, whereas just seeing from this review, although the windscreen was probably me applying too much force somewhere along the line, the smokestack just popped clean off. Of course, we have the snap panel on the other side, and the clearance on this figure is near enough impossible. Honestly, if you are to purchase this figure, I would only recommend that you leave it in the robot mode, as to get it in the truck mode, it's just really not worth it. The Unique Toys version is so much easier to transform, in my opinion. The joints, the quality of plastic that they use on that just feels 10 times better than this. But anyway, taking a look here at him in the truck mode, this is the best that I can get it. Now, of course, I have tidied it up a little bit, but from what I showed from the transformation sequence, that is roughly how you are going to want to get certain panels aligned in order to actually get this figure. You can see that as far as the detail is concerned, it does look remarkable, and that is one of the reasons why I am just so let down by this particular figure. The paint and the sculpt really does look mesmerizing, especially here for the front section of the cab. You can see the grill's got a really nice metallic wash applied over the top. The flame detailing really is a sight to behold. I love the very vibrant metallic blue that we get here as the base coat. Of course, we then get the pinstriping around the flames, and the red really does look excellent. We've got some amazing silver metallic paint used here for the sides. The hubcaps are indeed really nicely painted, and the wheels too are rubber. As we flip here to the back, you can see some nice Western star detailing. And then as we turn to this side where I do have the broken panel, I once again have tried my best to conceal it as much as I can. I'm almost certain that Shozi will be able to provide me with a replacement part, as Shozi has one of the best replacement part services that I personally have ever experienced, but you just really shouldn't have to offer replacement part pieces for a figure which is $200. ToyWorld definitely need to get their act together. Why use clear plastic for one of the vital transformation joints, and a very stiff joint indeed, as this entire region is painted, so it just makes that joint extra tighter. I personally am just thoroughly disappointed here with this particular figure. Despite how awesome it may look here in truck mode and of course in robot mode, I just do not think that for the money it is worth it at all. And if you are given the option between the two, then I personally would highly recommend to go with the Unique Toys version. But with all that being said, if this still does appeal to you and you do like what you see, he is currently available to order right now over at Shozi's store, and for that of course I shall include a link down in the description box below. It may just be a case that I personally am unable to transform this. I have tried my best, and you can see that it is pretty close. It is just some of those QC issues that I have with this back tab not pegging in, the smokestack popping off, and then of course this cracked panel. If those were all rectified, I'm pretty certain that I could get it 100% complete. So I don't want to say that the transformation doesn't work, but it is just an absolute pain to get it from, of course, A to B. I really hope that you enjoyed this review and that it was informative. Once again, I do apologise if I did appear to show the figure in a negative light. I just have to be 100% honest and upfront with you all and say that for $200, I definitely think your money would be better spent with something like the Unique Toys version, which I will include a link for also down in the description box below. I really hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.